Guys, Coach Kurt. So today we're talking about head, hips, shoulders equals control. And this is true of any martial art that's a grappling-based system. But in Taiho Jutsu especially, or one could even say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as it relates to self-defense, it's very important to control the heads, hips, and shoulders. And the kind of takedowns we're talking about is what I prefer to call soft takedowns. Objectively reasonable. Remember, Taiho Jutsu is a law enforcement martial art. It's designed for arresting and controlling. So it needs to be objectively reasonable. Graham v. Connor, I just did a video on that. Now, it doesn't mean you can't or won't have to juice those takedowns and throws up, but I prefer to focus on takedowns that I have control over, so I can choose to go to the ground if I have to or stay standing if I have to and transition to my bat belt, my taser, batons, pepper spray, firearm if necessary. And to do that, you need to control the head, the hips, and the shoulders. These are crucial. This training allows you to safely take the subject to the ground. That is my overall goal. That's why a lot of the takedowns, I do hip throws, shoulder throws. You see them in my channel, but I don't favor them for first reason is isn't always as necessarily easy to control those styles of takedowns. The person thumps and they thumps pretty hard, and it's hard to control that. Also, you've got your duty gear on. You've got a vest. You've got a gun belt. We're talking 30 pounds of gear. It can take away a little bit of your mobility as far as getting your hip in for the throw, or not so much with the shoulder throws, but it's still in a situation. And so you're wrestling influenced Hapkido style takedowns like you just saw there, the Kodagaish outside wrist rock takedown. And when I do hip throws, I tend to do it almost like it's like an soft way of doing it, if that's a way of explaining it. I would say like a wrestling takedown, but it's not, because I like to stay on my feet. And not to be confused with a lack of atemi waza. You see on the screen, striking is not included in randori, so striking must be practiced alongside randori. And that's from Kano, the founder of judo. So even he recognized that atemi waza was a super important aspect of any of the grappling you would be doing. Here's that shoulder throw I was explaining to you. This is me training alongside my coach at the time. He was my MMA and my Krav Maga coach. And he catches me in a beautiful shoulder throw. I try to take us back. Here I'm keeping him off with the atemi waza we were talking about. This is not a video about atemi waza, but it needs to be mentioned. I just did a video on atemi waza. Here I am trying to take us back. I overcommit, and I set myself up for a perfect shoulder throw. That, I think, would be very doable, especially the way he's doing it with duty gear on. You shouldn't have anything in the small of your back anyway. Here's the hip throw I like to do. It's more of a step through. This is the way I did it in Hapkido. A judo practitioner would look at this and probably like, ugh, that's not good. So I like to go from a body lock. You see out here with a body lock. I suck the arm in, I push, they push back, and I roll them over my hip. It's more of a rolling hip throw takedown. I'm tripping them over the hip. I'm trying not to do a hardcore takedown. And here's my favorite standing double leg. I am definitely not a fan of going to your knee on a double leg for self-defense and law enforcement. It all meshes. If you are doing martial arts for self-defense, it's not that you can't go to your knee. It's just realistically you should be able to do a double leg without going to your knee. I would say it's similar to Greco-Roman, but Greco-Roman you're not allowed to do leg attacks. But it's old school way of doing it, more of your judo way of doing it. Back when judo could actually do double legs, they can't do that. They cannot attack legs in that manner anymore. That's against the Olympic rules. But I prefer to get to takedowns via the clinch. Here is a body fold takedown, but you guys see that I do a lot of pummeling and clinch work, along with I call it clinch sparring or clinch randori. and also clinch sparring with strikes. Now, and when I do that, we're not trying to kill each other. With the gloves are just a backup so you don't get cut. But it's a pitter patter, and you got to recognize that the individual is striking, just like when you're doing MMA grappling and someone's like striking you on the ground. You're sparring with your friends and your teammates. You're not trying to hurt each other, but you need to recognize those strikes and you need to escape that position. When you add strikes to anything that's grappling related, no matter if it's on the feet or on the ground, it changes things up quite a bit. And here you see me using a gi. That also changes things up. Gi throwing and no gi throwing are two different animals. Now, there are definitely some crossover. Ippon Seonage is something you can do with a gi or without a gi. That's just a perfect example. And regardless of how you throw, whatever system you train, the breaking balance in 8 directions, that's common. Here I am incorporating that atemi waza. I did a flinch response or instinct-based tactics, and I used a strike/push above the knee. This would be your elbow shield way of getting to a body lock. And here's one of those soft takedowns I like using. It's just basically like a subtle hip bump or a knee tap, and you take them down to the ground. Now, this isn't a ground fighting video, but again, I want to emphasize striking is not included in randori, so you have to practice it on the side. I hope you know and understand it. Everybody like, subscribe, and share, and stay safe out there.
Scotty, give me that power.
You've got it, Captain. Just enough to move us. I can do better.
That'll do.
Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out.